Ready whenever you are, Mr.
All
Chair.
set?
Yep.
Okay, we will, I'd like to call to order the February 2nd, 2023 meeting of the Historic District Commission for the City of Saugatuck. We will start by doing a roll call. Sarah or Ryan, would you help us with that?
For Canarsa,
Here.
Donahue,
Here.
Penosa,
Here.
Patterson,
Here.
and Straker.
Here. And we are missing,
Oh,
just for the
sorry, we're
record,
missing
Lewis
Lewis
and
and
Leo.
Leo.
great. Are there any agenda changes, additions, or deletions tonight? Nope. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes of the regular meeting held January 5th? If so, do I have a motion to approve those?
Move to approve.
Thank
Second.
you. Second, Canarsa, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
opposed? Okay. Public comments on any agenda items. Do we have any public comments today?
Let me introduce myself.
If you'd like to make a public comment, come on up and introduce. Are you on the agenda?
I
Okay,
Well,
no, this is a public comment section versus an agenda section, so. If you're an applicant, right? Okay. Is there any unfinished business we should be aware of?
No, Mr. Chair.
In that case, we will go right into new business. We have two applications tonight. First is 647 Butler Street. Before we invite the applicant to come up, or it looks like you're on screen tonight. We have one new commissioner, so I'll reiterate for everyone in the audience and on Zoom and for us as commissioners, the way our meetings work. So we'll invite the applicant to share anything that they might feel isn't included in the application that you want to make us aware of in terms of an overview of the project. And then we will ask questions. Each individual commissioner will ask questions of clarity or just additional info that they might have. I'll go around the table and I do that randomly. And we'll ask every person to make sure they have their voice. And then we'll consolidate at the end and we'll call for a vote. So I always encourage applicants that if you've not been before the commission before, everyone's going to have their own perspective, their own questions they ask. So if you hear something going one direction or another during the Q&A, it doesn't mean it's going one direction or the other. It's a seeking to understand dialogue. So that's the way we run our meetings, and then we'll call that for a vote. Okay, so I'll drive that and make sure everyone has their opportunity from a commissioner standpoint. So with that, let's go to 647 Butler Street. This is a new application that's kind of a carryover from our last meeting. I did send a note out to ask to make sure everyone read the minutes in case you weren't at the meeting, to make sure you were familiar with what we covered last time related to fence and windows. And then we'll pick up fresh with this application for tonight. Suresh.
Hello.
Hello, welcome back. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, no, apologies.
Thanks for the work on the, thanks for the work on the revised application too. Is there anything you want to tee up for us prior to discussion?
No, and I apologize. I'm not there in person. I got stuck on a flight, and I'm not nowhere near Saugatuck right now, unfortunately. There's no huge variation from what was submitted, and again, I learned a lot from the last meeting that we were at. So thank you for the guidance and the feedback. And I think we have submitted a plan that is more closely aligned with the historic district rules and guidelines. I do want to make a couple of introductions that I invited to the call. My husband Darius is on the line, as well as Greg from the Window Underground, which is the company that we're proposing that we use for the window restoration and rebuild if necessary as well, should there be any specific questions about any of the windows that we plan to restore or rebuild.
Great. Thank you for that. Assuming everyone's had a chance to read their packet and click on the electronic link prior to the meeting. Mr. Patterson, how about we start with you? Do you have any questions or clarifying comments?
I wrote three things down that are on my mind in terms of recommendations. I think we need to make sure we're aligned with streetscape because of the 3.5-foot fence versus what was before, and it's, its location. I know it's a little out of our purview, but I think that's part of what we're supposed to do here. And then also the use of vinyl windows around the ones that he's going to replace. So I think we need to discuss that as a group. Those three. Those are the three.
Okay, on the fence in particular, is your main question about placement or is it about type?
Not placement, just height. I
Okay.
thought the previous proposal was, obviously we didn't approve it. But this one is much more in line with, I think, from a streetscape standpoint and overall height and, that. The only one you probably need to take a look at is 3.5 from that point at the corner of the house along Grand Street, correct? It goes along the property line and then reattaches to the garage.
Spear, yeah.
So what do you mean?
That's
Grand
the other
Street?
one we probably need to say, is that something we're sensitive to, or are we good with that?
Okay.
So I'd like to hear others'
Excellent.
input on
Can I
that.
just get a clarity on, is it, but we're talking about the house of Butler, right? Usually we mentioned Grand Street.
He meant, I think he meant Spear.
Spear.
Oh, Spear, yes, sorry. Thank you.
Okay. Dan,
So my only question is, referring to the windows, it appears that some are going to be repaired, restored, and some replaced. And I think I'd like to see the justification for replacement. I think we need to just see that and yeah.
okay. Suresh, do you want to respond to that before I keep going? Because the way I interpreted it is you reached out to this, to the Window Underground Company as a partner on the project, and they did an assessment. And so part of your ask is based on them. I should ask, is it based on them saying those windows that you're asking to replace should be replaced, or are those ones that you would like to replace?
So there is a varying degree of quality of window or ability to repair or replace windows throughout the property. There are actually some window panes that don't even have any windows in their current window frames today. That is in the back porch area. It is, very well documented. Well, at least I thought in the actual write-up in relation to what we wanted to repair, what we wanted to replace, with the recommendations from Greg in relation to specifically what we did want to replace. Anything that is street facing, we have chosen to either restore or rebuild to exactly the same like kind quality that's already there with the existing style, with the existing LED lighting, with the existing window panes, no muntins. There is one window on the, I believe it's the south facing elevation. I believe that's the south. Yeah, the south facing elevation that is not street facing, that is in such poor quality that the recommendation was to replace that specific window. And again, just I'm seeking one exception for that window just because it is not street facing. And I'm seeking an exception for the windows that don't have any windows in them today. So they're currently just a storm window. There is no window actually in the window frame itself to replace.
Okay,
Yep.
does that help a little bit?
Good, thank you.
Well,
I didn't even go, this is my first meeting. My only question goes back to your fence question. It's only because in reading the guidelines, it looks like we go with 3 and he's asking for a variance to 3.5. And that was my only question.
Yeah, do you want me to respond to that one as well?
sure.
Yeah, my only, that we did seek a 6-inch exception. The only variance there was because this is a corner facing lot and the rules per the city guidelines or the historic district guidelines was that it was a maximum of 3 foot in the front elevation and between 3 and 6 foot in the back elevation. Because this is technically our backyard potentially, even though it is street facing, but it is our backyard, that is why we sought the 6-inch exception.
Thank you. Anything else? John?
I think my questions have been addressed. I'm just wondering about the vinyl replacement windows and having the one not be made to match the restored ones. The one that would be facing the street or on the side, I guess. So that I had that question. And then I think that's it for now.
And Greg, maybe you can chime in on the reasoning for that window.
The street side one on Spear Street there in the second floor.
Yeah, so there is one small window that is street facing that is going to be our new laundry room that is that we're recommending be replaced with a small vinyl window. I believe there's an image in the documentation to be able to reflect that. Everything else in that streetscape is being either restored or rebuilt with that one small exception. It already looks like it's vinyl already because it's vinyl wrapped. But it is a window that is going to be in our laundry room that we're going to replace it with something that actually looks more like what should be there instead of the swing out window. But Greg, maybe you want to just explain why the rationale behind replacing vinyl.
This window, it's 18 inches wide, 30 inches high, and it's currently configured as an in-swing casement. And being a laundry room, the configuration there, if they were needing to open it for any kind of ventilation with the high humidity that you're going to run in a laundry room, it's going to open into any kind of cabinet or the washer, the dryer, and it's going to preclude actual function of the window. And as you can see, there's a storm window, a vinyl storm window on it, or aluminum storm window on it now. That is in a double hung manner. They would give that the operability from the storm window, but on the inside, you wouldn't be able to open that casement without hitting into a cabinet or a laundry machine or something like that. So to be able to use that to get some ventilation, I think that a wise move there would be to somehow fit that with a replacement window that is a double hung.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else, John?
No, not right now.
I guess I only have a couple things and maybe in response to your window push. I guess on that, since we're on that particular window, I personally don't have, even though that's a street facing side, I don't have a huge problem with it because I think it's kind of like for like in that I bet that window wasn't an original opening in the first place.
Doesn't look like it.
So it was added. So if you're keeping it the same or improving it, I think that's fine. But I would also just kind of honor the fact that you've done your due diligence and you're restoring all the original windows on both elevations that are important in the district. I think that's terrific. So thank you for the effort you took to do that and investing in those really good windows. So that little one is sort of doesn't hugely matter to me. We have approved vinyl windows. It's not something we usually do, but I think all historic districts are training on the fact that vinyl products are becoming really, really good and actually could, and if they're the right quality, serve to protect the structure as well as other windows. So I think we don't encourage vinyl. There's been some that we've not approved vinyl, but the bigger thing is that the profile and the construction of the window and the opening is the right relationship. So I think we should be looking at that, is my opinion, since it is on the back of the house. more so than vinyl for the sake of vinyl. Just out of curiosity, did you look at other window types?
We did, and we ended up landing on a very high quality kind of vinyl window that we thought might fit the bill, that was double hung, that would almost look, almost identical to match whatever is on the other sides of the facades.
Okay, because,
And the other windows, they actually, the ones we're proposing on the back of the house don't even exist today.
yeah,
They're just empty openings.
I mean, one perspective is you have a little bit of a hodgepodge on the back between that porch structure that you're looking to enclose and the back windows. So you're creating more consistency. There's a balance probably of the window type, as long as it meets our guidelines for scale and shape and dimensions, as much as there's a balance there, making the back more consistent would be one perspective. I don't know what you guys think. There's also the door. I appreciate, we don't always approve fiberglass doors. But I appreciate the fact that if I'm reading your spec correctly, it's a unstamped smooth finish fiberglass door.
Correct.
So we never approve fake stamped faux wood on anything. So just confirming that that is in the spec.
Correct.
And then my only other comment is, I don't know, I think we've already established that in a historic district on a corner, there are two primary elevations. So for the fence, the 6 inches doesn't particularly bother me. The picket and the fact that it's natural and is in the style of what probably would have been there is more important. My problem is, I don't think that picket fence should go out to the curb. If you can flip back to that, not curb, but to the sidewalk. I think if you look at the Butler side elevation, the fence goes to the corner of the house. And I think it wants to go from the corner of the house on the Spear Street elevation back to the driveway and then back to the garage. It's strange for me for it to go out to the sidewalk. I think.
If I can just respond to that, if you don't mind, just because we are planning on, moving into the house, and we are planning on having a dog and eventually hopefully a family and whatnot, we do require a fenced in yard. I think, we are compromising somewhat from our original proposal for the higher fence. And having a bit more of a yard that would allow that to be fenced in is our request, in order for us to have enjoyment of our property as well.
I understand. It essentially makes a backyard that goes to the sidewalk. And it's a side yard. So it's an existing condition that was there, unfortunately. So, I mean, my perspective is, I think it's wonky and weird to go to the sidewalk. I recognize your challenge of having a dog in a smaller space versus a larger space.
I mean, one of the reasons why we're moving from Chicago is to get a bit more space. So this kind of defeats the purpose if we do try to make that smaller. But again, I would like to think that we tried to compromise with not having, the whole kind of corner lot fenced in. And I know you've told us not to look at other properties in the area because this is a unique one in itself. But our sincere request is that you give us a bit more space in the backyard, well, considering it's our backyard. But I completely realize it's a sidescape that we want to try to get through, but we're hoping you can make that exception.
Mr. Chair, just from I'm not sure what distance you're looking at, or your thought is, at least from a zoning perspective, front yard fences and side yard fences on a corner, it'll have to be at least a foot back from the sidewalk. But that's the zoning requirement. Again, from the historic district, you have, more latitude, but it will at least have to be 1 foot back from the sidewalk.
And we're completely fine with that approach.
I mean, not to sound like that old dude, but I have never in 20 years as a historic district commissioner, ever approved a fence in this configuration out that far. I get your planning commission rule, but in a 2 elevation corner lot of 2 primary elevations in a district, I've never seen a fence be approved out to the sidewalk that way. I think there's maybe a little bit of leeway to say, could the fence return, look at the word area. Like if the fence were to return under the word area or through the word area, like maybe there's a little wiggle room there, but I can't, that way it's a jog. It's not a full enclosure of the yard. But I have never
And I
seen a
apologize.
commission
Are
approve
there,
that.
are there no other, maybe I'm mistaken, but I thought there were other corner lots that did have full fences to the sidewalk in that historic district, right on Butler itself.
One close to.
I honestly, I can't speak to what a commission approved or didn't approve prior to us. I can only relate to what this commission does. And I know that's frustrating because you're looking around going like other people, you know, did something similar, but it's sort of like what we said last time. From my perspective, this home, you bought kind of the, you know, one of the stars of the street in terms of the era. And I just don't think that feels right to go out. I couldn't in good conscience vote for that out that far. I don't know what, I'll send it back around to you guys if, or you can vote with your voice, but
So you're talking about right here.
correct.
I support what you're saying.
I just don't think it's empathetic to the, or sympathetic rather to what's going on around it in the streetscape and the neighbors. I would be, I mean, I guess I would offer, we could put this in a motion or we could leave it as is, but I would offer that maybe there's a little room for some compromise of what I'm suggesting. I don't know how you guys feel about that. It's still a little dangerous territory for me because I think it should do exactly what your front elevation is doing. It should go directly from the corner of the house to the property line. That's what it normally would do.
You can frame it like that, right?
Say more.
Well, we'll just let it roll around for a minute.
Anybody else have?
When you said there's some compromise on the other side of the word area or?
No, I wouldn't go. For me, this is one voice. I'm not trying to design it. I'm saying like, I would not go above the word area on the drawing. I'm saying if that's the furthest I would go, because if I'm imagining standing on the corner where the arrows are in the curve, and I'm looking down, if it were no further than the word area, I would at least have a sight line to the next property, which is what you should have on this elevation. If it's any further out than where that writing is, you start to block what you should see.
So can I ask a question? If that was to be the case, could we, if the request is that we try to stick with the existing perimeter of the property, could we then pull it all the way forward to the front of the property and line it up with the front side of the house if we were to pull in the fence from the sidewalk?
No.
So that wouldn't work either.
So you're saying like, if you take it out to the word area, but move it all the way down to the front of the house?
Yep.
No. That's like then a 2-foot enclosure to the house. That's worse. The way it is right now, both the Butler Street side and the Spear Street side of the elevation are house. That's what you see and that's what you should see. if you did what you were just suggesting, one entire elevation would be fence forward. And it would look like a dog run or something, I think.
Kind of would be.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm trying to be creative here, but I can't really get beyond the corner of the house the way it would replicate the front. I really can't. And I don't know what a jog gets you. You know, I'm not super great with scale here, but it looks like that's about 2 feet, 3 feet of a jog if you take it out to the word area. I don't know that that gets you much anyway.
Seems more like 6 or 7 to me.
It could be.
Yeah, yeah, because there's 19 feet between that and the sidewalk. So yeah, it would be 6 or 7.
It's certainly, if I may, I think it would certainly be less conspicuous if it were moved back to that line where it says area. And the compromise would be maybe to go a little above the 3 foot because it's wood and less conspicuous.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with the extra ½ inch. I don't know if anyone else does.
Half
Half
foot?
foot.
A foot, that's what I meant, sorry.
Are you talking above and beyond the 3.5 feet, or are you talking about the 3.5 foot is the extra?
I'm talking about as submitted, the picket fence
The height
height.
being that we're okay, basically okay with that.
I don't think, yeah, ½ foot is gonna make or break the aesthetic.
And I'll just throw out, we're talking about it. I understand your perspective. I understand the applicant's perspective. Could there be just a halfway, could it be a little bit further up from the area, like 8 feet? Divide that 19 in half and make it 8. Still gives that sight line, still gives green space in front of the fence. I mean,
It doesn't for me,
no,
because I think you still stand up on the corner where the curved arrow is. When you go halfway out, you see the front of the fence, like where the 19 is. The more you go out, the more that reads as structure, and I don't think you should ever read structure.
I have one more relevant question maybe for the applicant. You're showing a stained, kind of a natural fence. Were you thinking of that's what you want, or are you thinking of?
No,
painting
we're gonna
house?
paint it. We're gonna paint it white to blend in with the house.
So that blends more.
Yeah. It blends more with the architecture. If it's out to the sidewalk, it stands out more. I mean, it's not good either way for me, white or natural, but I'm glad it's white. I'm glad you're doing that.
White is in keeping with most of the street facing fences in the city.
In the architecture.
Yeah, and the architecture.
Anybody else have?
I should also, Logan is on the line as well. There is a slight change to what Logan and I spoke about. Logan is in the property, but I guess behind mine. And we had talked, I think in the proposal, I had mentioned that I would work with Logan to restore the chain link fence that is between our properties, which I believe to be about 4.5 to 5 feet in height. Logan and I had spoken to replace the area between his property and my property up until the front of the garage in the matching fence that is between, I guess, lot 23 and lot 24. But then also to match with that picket fence, with the white picket fence at 3.5 feet from the front of the garage to the streetscape as well. So to try to tie in with that extension that we had requested in our proposal. Logan, I'm not sure if you wanted to chime in with your agreement that we talked about that.
Yeah, I don't know what other rules we need to pay attention to, but I think we can all agree that picket fence is a lot better looking than that chain link So we were talking about replacing that barrier, and then also I would match it on my other side and get rid of both of the chain link sections from the street. But sounds like there's some considerations we need to pay attention to as far as how close it gets to the sidewalk. So I'm sure we're willing to do whatever the rule is there.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys working together on that.
Yeah, so my thought was at least it has some level of consistency on both sides of that driveway that has that white picket fencing to kind of blend in with
Yep.
now what Logan's gonna do on his other side as well.
My suggestion would be, we have a couple ways we could go. We could separate a motion from the windows and everything else from the fence, which would give us the ability to react to the application as submitted. Or we could have one motion where we make a motion to approve the application with language that changes the placement of the fence in terms of the approval. So I don't know if anyone wants to make a motion, or you guys have a point of view on what I'm really saying is there's a chance that the fence, if we separate them, the fence could be denied as submitted. And the windows could be approved, or if we combine them and restate the motion to what we all might approve. It's not what the applicant has asked for, but it would be an affirmative motion.
But we haven't agreed on what we might approve.
Correct. I mean, we don't agree to it before a motion anyway, so.
So can I just re-ask the question? Because I to be completely candid, I don't want to come back yet again to ask for the same fence again. So is there a compromise to and I think it would look actually funny if you did it kind of halfway, to be completely candid. I think a foot or maybe 2 in would be fine. But I think jutting it out halfway and then breaking up that lawn looks even worse. To me, it's either all the way or not, just from my perspective. But what is the compromise, I guess, is my question that you guys are potentially talking about, that we go above the word area, which is 8 to 9 feet?
No, I'm only introducing the spirit of compromise. I actually 100% agree with you. I think I'm not in favor of the compromise solution. I think it might draw more attention to it. I'm just like throwing things out there to try to help, and in the spirit of helpfulness, not that we would.
Yeah.
I think we're going to get right back to it needs to be at the corner, to be honest with you, but I'm trying not to guide us all that way.
Yeah, Darius, do you have an opinion? You're on mute if you're talking.
Darius.
My husband is on the line.
Oh. He has him on his line.
We can't hear him.
Yeah, he's on mute, so maybe he can't
Okay.
unmute for some reason.
Can I add something? So I think because this house is such a landmark, there's a lot of pressure on us, I think, to stick with the guidelines and our purview, and not be subjective, but be objective. I think we'll take a lot of heat if we don't do that, because it is a focal point of that intersection. And so I just want you to appreciate what I think we're obligated to do in this situation, is be somewhat objective.
I appreciate you saying that. I agree.
And obviously past commissions may not have done that, so.
Yep. Anyone have a motion?
Well, did we say we were trying to decide if we should take the fence out of the application and let that be a separate issue?
Well,
So
I would, yeah, if you don't mind, I would rather you just if the approval is that that the only thing you would approve is being in line with the house, I would rather just us come to that conclusion instead of me having to come back again next month.
How about I make a try on the motion? Should know the address by now. I'd like to make a motion for 647 Butler Street. That we approve the application as submitted with the following exception. That on the Spear Street side of the property, the fence start at the corner of the house and terminate just to the right of the measurement 29.7 on the drawing submitted and return to the garage as submitted. So in other words, we're approving a direct run from the fence from the corner of the house back to where the applicant wants it to return to the garage, not going out to the sidewalk.
Could I
All their
request, could I request a slight change to that? If that is what's going to be approved, could you make it maybe 3 feet in addition to that 29.7 so that when the gate swings, it swings into the kind of garage? Should that make sense? Does that make sense what I'm asking for? So it's kind of between the 29.7 and the
Okay,
driveway.
We have so there's a motion on the floor, so I'm going to ask for a second.
Second.
Now in the discussion, I'd like to amend that the exact placement of the return to the garage has a plus or minus of 3 feet in terms of where that falls in relationship to the driveway.
So a range.
Correct. Is everyone clear on that in that motion?
The line follows across from the house.
I think what we're most concerned about is that the line goes from the corner of the house back to the return to the garage and that it not go any more out towards Spear Street. I don't think our level of concern about where it hits the garage is as important because it's a 3-foot fence and it's not going to go in the middle of the garage door. It's not going to go to the left because he wants it for his dog. So I don't know that that's any more discussion?
Can we say parallel to Spear Street? Is that?
Yeah, for the portion coming back from the corner of the
Right.
house. Yeah, we can add
Because we
that.
really can't identify where to hit on that line. So if we say parallel.
Yep. So I'll restate the language just in the course of discussion prior to calling the vote. So approve the application as submitted with the following exception, that the fence go from the corner of the house parallel to Spear Street back to the return line to the garage with room for variation of exact placement on where it goes back to the garage.
Second.
Okay, so that was just clarifying the motion that was already stated.
Oh.
So I
was-
think that's
I thought-
okay.
I thought
No,
it was
it's
remaking
that's
it
okay.
because it was-
We already stated. That's okay.
Summarized.
Yeah, I was just for the minutes. All in favor signify by saying yes. Yes. Opposed? Okay. Thank you for your great work on the windows. We really appreciate what you did there in terms of exploring what should be and saving those original windows. That's awesome. And you've been really great to work with all along. So thank you for that.
No, thank you. And can I just clarify the fence between mine and Logan's house, is that approved as well?
Yeah, everything as submitted. Yep.
Well, that wasn't submitted. That's why I'm
Making that picket is what he was asking about.
Oh, I thought it was
Oh,
already in
No,
the,
it
sorry,
wasn't.
I
It's not in
misread.
there. He added it earlier, that part, which I think would be good.
I was totally on the other part of the property when he was talking about that. Sorry about that. That's my mistake.
We need to. Can that be a staff approval or something? How do you do that?
So that's a chain link fence right now?
It's chain link right now. Yep.
I think it's way better if it's.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be,
Pick it.
that'd be, yeah, okay.
If it's like for
Chain link.
like and it
Sure.
matches the rest of the, yeah.
Can we just add an addendum?
Well, it,
We
we just
already-
did
we just voted.
administrative approval at this point, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, I think that administrative approval on that part of the fence is
Yeah.
fine. since
Yeah,
we-
whatever they
Property
settle
line
on,
fence.
Yeah,
whatever they settle on,
Yeah.
sounds like it's gonna work.
Yep.
And if you feel like it's beyond your purview, Ryan,
sorry, I missed that, you guys. Apologize.
bring it back and mention it to us.
I think that'll look really nice.
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks,
there was
Suresh.
one more item that Ryan asked me to bring up as well, just it wasn't in the documentation and I don't believe it was supposed to be discussed because last time you said you guys don't get involved in tree conversations. But there was that 47-foot elm in the backyard that I had proposed cutting down. I had submitted Ryan some documentation. I did utilize Ryan Rose, who was a recommendation by the committee, to investigate the scope of that tree and its feasibility. And by the way, Greg, you're free to jump off. Thank you.
Our Ryan did give me that info. And so I think you're fine on that.
Okay,
So for
great.
the rest of the
That plan is-
commissioners,
that plan is-
basically the arborist report was the tree is in danger and it's likely to come down. So we should not, in my opinion, stand in the way of that tree coming down. Since he went to the effort to get it evaluated, I think that
Yep.
is the homeowner's decision.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it is a pretty tree. Okay, we're gonna move on to 510 Butler Street. Thank you for your patience. You want to introduce yourself and let us know anything that you want us to know that's not already in your application?
Actually, Michael Wachter is the architect, and he will be addressing you. I'm Jeff West. I'm the manager of Liquid Inn, and I'm just here in case there are other questions. I'm the boots on the ground.
Awesome.
So if there's any business questions or anything that are helpful, I'm here.
Okay, great. Michael, is there
evening,
any
everyone.
overview you would like to give us?
Well, the quick overview is, you guys can hear me okay, right?
We can.
Okay, great. The issue that we're facing at the Wickwood is we have a series of we call them ad hoc additions and modifications to the interior courtyard of this building, and we're attempting to straighten them out to make the circulation work the way it should instead of the way it's been put together over the last half century. To do that, we're adding, and I think if we look for sheet A 3.0, that one right there, you can see in the plan, it shows in the upper right corner, drawing number 1, the site key plan, shows the location of the small addition that we're asking to add to the building, which will fit into the corner. If you look at the lower right photo, you see this little doghouse that somebody erected that enclosed the stair to the basement. We are going to remove that and have access from the kitchen straight down to the basement, essentially leaving the stair where it is, but enclosing the space so that people can go from the main floor down to the basement without going outside. The small addition that's nestled into the corner, you can see in the elevation, has a shed roof that matches the pitch of the dining room addition that is to the northeast. It's on the northeast corner of the building. The materials will match exactly what is there now, the same siding, the exact same windows. They're the Anderson 400 series with the colonial mutton pattern. The same gutters and roofing, and the single door that will go in will match the doors that are currently on the back side of the building. This addition is in total just about 100 square feet, and it is entirely within the interior courtyard of the building and is not visible at all from either Butler or Mary Street.
Great. Thank you. Start this way this time. John, any comments?
Looks like it should have always looked to me, and that doghouse going away is really a good idea. So, no, that's my only comment.
Okay, well,
Comments, no.
okay. Dan?
No comment.
My only, no comment either. My only question is just confirming, as I look at your notes and making sure that those Anderson 400 series windows in the door, the divided light is simulated divided light, not sandwiched buttons, correct?
That's correct.
Yep. Okay.
And it's what is currently installed in the building elsewhere, and we use the exact same make and model
Okay,
in
just
the addition.
my only ask there is, my memory is failing me on if they're sandwiched in the rest of the building. If they're sandwiched, I would not want, even though they would match, I wouldn't want these to be
We'd
sandwiched.
want to have them on the outside and have them have the Muntin expressed on the outside of the window.
Okay, simulated divided light.
Yep. We will make that note.
Okay, no other questions for me? Anyone like to make a motion?
Make a motion that we approve the application for 510 Butler Street as submitted.
Second,
Any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Yes, opposed? Okay, thank you. Thanks for the completeness of the application. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate your work.
Thank you for doing good work to a great piece of property. Thank you.
Love to.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Administrative approvals and updates.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one, as you can see, our neighbors here on Butler Street, 132 to 140 Butler Street are replacing their roof and skylights with same materials. So they'll be working on that, I think, for at least another week, and then they'll be out of there.
Great. I don't know if we, in hindsight, if we should have put that tree as an administrative approval or not. We probably should have. I think anything that comes to me as like a, hey, is this a blah, blah, blah?
Mhm.
And we decide on it, should probably go on here.
Okay.
As in.
Yep. Yeah, generally it does. Yeah, the tree, I didn't, he didn't like officially apply, again, to remove it or anything like that.
Right,
So,
right.
I just wanted to make sure his understanding was correct with.
Yep.
His understanding was that you didn't want to review it. So.
Yeah.
But good, fair point.
I just want to be transparent when
Yep.
something, I don't want you guys to think I'm doing something without your knowledge. Any communication?
No, Mr. Chair.
Any more public comments? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Russ Gardner, 245 Spear Street. I was at the last Historic District Commission meeting. I just want to thank you for your thoughtful approach to these applications. I've sat in this chair before, so I kind of have a sense of how this stuff goes. And I would just say I grew up in that house, and that view that you've talked about, standing in my front yard, looking down towards that corner, I've never even assumed there's gonna be any changes to that view. And the way that you've approached this evening and thought about that view, even though I'm just one property owner, that view is what a lot of people see when they first come into town. And so I really appreciate the compromise with the property owner in terms of trying to make this as non-intrusive as possible, but also meet his needs. I appreciate that from a resident as well as a city council member. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for
what you've
saying that. I
done.
appreciate it.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing what Logan has to do, my next door neighbor, with his chain link fence, because that chain link fence actually could be considered historic.
I know.
That fence was put up by the former police chief, Lyle Jones. Most of you probably wouldn't know Lyle. He's got a park named over after him here. He was my neighbor. And he put that fence up for his dog. So prior to that, and we used to have a split rail fence in our front yard, which I don't know why it came down. But anyway, so that sight line is just incredibly important, and it's historic. And I appreciate your efforts to maintain that. It's what makes this town special. Thank you.
Thank you for saying,
Thanks, Russ.
appreciate you saying that. Thank you. Anyone else on screen? Okay. Any commissioner comments? Welcome again, Will.
Thank you.
Painless first meeting?
Yeah.
Got a lot of good experience here. So any questions you have, feel free to reach out. I know you were set up with good background information and guidelines, so feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about those. If there's nothing else, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
All right. I didn't question.
You were the
I did.
second.
Very good job.
Right now, like I was negotiating a labor union.
Good.
What do you do when the winter just?
I'm